Hello, Bryn. Time for Chapter 15. That night, Ariete lay straight and still under her cigar-box ceiling. Humley and Pod talked for hours. They talked in the sitting room, they talked in the kitchen, and later, much later, she heard them talking in their bedroom. She heard drawers shutting and opening, doors creaking, and boxes being pulled out from under beds. What are they doing, she wondered. What will happen next? Very still, she lay in her soft little bed with her familiar belongings about her. Her postage-stamp view of Rio Harbor, her silver pig off a charm bracelet, her turquoise ring, which sometimes, for fun, she would wear as a crown, and dearest of all, her floating ladies with the golden trumpets tooting above her peaceful town. Their peaceful town. She did not want to lose these. She realized suddenly, lying straight and still in bed, but to have all the other things as well, adventure and safety mixed. That's what she wanted. And that, the restless bangings and whisperings told her, is just what you couldn't do. As it happened, Homily was only fidgeting, opening drawers and shutting them, unable to be still, and she ended up, when Pod was already in bed, by deciding to curl her hair. "Now, Homily," Pod protested wearily, lying there in his nightshirt, "there is really no call for that. Who is going to see you?" "That's just it," claimed Homily, searching in a drawer for her curl rags. "In times like these, no one ever knows." "I'm not going to be caught out," she said irritably, turning the drawer upside down and picking over the spilled contents, "with me hair like this." She came to bed at last, looking spiky, like a washed-out gollywog. Ooh, that's a new word. It's spelled G-O-L-L-I-W-O-G. You can look it up, and I will do so later. And Pod, with a sigh, turned over at last and closed his eyes. Homily lay for a long time, staring at the oil lamp. It was the silver cap of a perfume bottle with a tiny floating wick. She felt unwilling, for some reason, to blow it out. There were moments upstairs in the kitchen, and it was late for movements. It was late for movements. The household should be asleep, and the lumpy curlers pressed uncomfortably against her neck. She gazed, just as Ariete had done, about the familiar room. Too full, she realized, with little bags and boxes and makeshift cupboards, and thought, what now? Perhaps nothing will happen. After all, the child, perhaps, is right, and we are making a good deal of fuss about nothing very much. This boy, when all is said and done, is only a guest. Perhaps, thought Homily, he'll go away again, quite soon. And that, she told herself drowsily, will be that. Later, as she realized afterwards, she must have dozed off, because it seemed she was crossing Parkin's Beck. It was night, and the wind was blowing, and the field seemed very steep. She was scrambling up it, along the ridge, by the gas pipe, sliding and falling in the wet grass. The trees, it seemed to Homily, were threshing and clashing, their branches waving and sawing against the sky. Ooh, I like that, sawing against the sky. Then, as she told them many weeks later, there was a sound of splintering wood, and Homily woke up. She saw the room again, and the oil lamp flickering, but something, she knew at once, was different. There was a strange draught, and her mouth felt dry and full of grit. She looked up at the ceiling. "Pod!" she shrieked, clutching his shoulder. Pod rolled over and sat up. They both stared at the ceiling. The whole surface was on a steep slant, and one side of it had come right away from the wall. This is what had caused the draught, and down into the room, into which an inch of the floor of the the foot of the bed, protruded a curious object. A huge bar of gray steel with a flattened, shining edge. "It's a screwdriver," said Pod. They stared at it, fascinated, unable to move, and for a moment all was still. Then slowly the huge object swayed upwards until the sharp lead edge lay against their ceiling, and Homily heard a scrape on the floor above and a sudden human gasp. "Oh, my knees!" cried Homily. "Oh, my feeling!" As, with a splintering wrench, their whole roof flew off and fell down with a clatter somewhere out of sight. Homily screamed then, but this time it was a real scream, loud and shrill and hearty. She seemed almost to settle down in her scream, while her eyes stared up, half interested, into empty, lighted space. There was another ceiling, she realized, away up above them, higher, it seemed, than the sky. A ham hung from it, and 2 strings of onions. Arietti appeared in the doorway, scared and trembling, clutching her nightgown, and Pod slapped Homily's back. "Half done," he said. "Have done," he said. "That's enough." And Homily suddenly was quiet. A great face appeared then between them and that distant height. It wavered above them, smiling and terrible. There was silence, and Homily sat upright, her mouth open. "Is that your mother?" asked a surprised voice after a moment, and Arietti from the doorway whispered, "Yes." It was the boy. Pod got out of bed and stood beside it, shivering in his nightshirt. "Come on," he said to Homily. "You can't stay here." But Homily could. She had her old nightdress on, with the patch in the back, and nothing was going to move her. A slow anger was rising up in Homily. She had been caught in her hair curlers. Pod had raised his hand to her, and she remembered that, in the general turmoil, and for once in her life, she had left the supper washing up for morning. And there it would be on the kitchen table for all to see. There's a picture here. I will show it to you in a moment. She glared at the boy. He was only a child after all. "Put it back," she said. "Put it back at once." Her eyes flashed and her curlers seemed to quiver. He knelt down, but Homily did not flinch as the great face came slowly closer. She saw his under lip, pink and full, like an enormous exaggeration of Arietti's, and she saw it wobble slightly. "But I've got something for you," he said. Homily's expression did not change, and Arietti called out from her place in the doorway, "What is it?" The boy reached behind him, and very gingerly, careful to keep it upright, he held a wooden object above their heads. "It's this," he said, and very carefully, his tongue out and breathing heavily, he lowered the object slowly into their hole. It was a doll's dresser, complete with plates. It had 2 drawers in it and a cupboard below. He adjusted its position at the foot of Homily's bed. Arietti ran around to see better. Now I'll show you the photo, or the picture. "Oh," she cried ecstatically. "Mother, look!" Homily threw the dresser a glance. It was dark oak, and the plates were hand-painted, and then she looked quickly away again. "Yes," she said coldly, "it's very nice." There was a short silence, which no one knew how to break. At last the boy said, "The cupboard really opens." And the great hand came down amongst them, smelling of bath soap. Arietti flattened herself against the wall, and Pod exclaimed nervous. "Now then." "Yes," agreed Homily after a moment. "I see that it does." Pod drew a long breath, a sigh of relief, as the hand went back. "There, Homily," he said, to placate her. "You've always wanted something like that." "Yes," said Homily. She still sat bolt upright, her hands clasped in her lap. "Thank you very much. And now," she went on coldly, "will you please put back the roof?" "Wait a minute," pleaded the boy. He reached beside him again, and the hand came down, and there beside the dresser, where there was barely room for it, was a very small doll's chair. It was a Victorian chair, upholstered in red velvet. "Oh," exclaimed Arrietty again, and Pod said shyly, "Just about fit me, that would." "Try it," begged the boy, and Pod threw him a nervous glance. "Go on," said Arrietty, and Pod sat down in his nightshirt, his bare feet showing. "That's nice," he said after a moment. "It would go by the fire in the sitting room," cried Arrietty. "It would look lovely on the red blotting paper." "Let's try it," said the boy, and the hand came down again. Pod sprang up just in time to steady the dresser as the red velvet chair was whisked away above his head and placed presumably in the next room. Arrietty ran out of the door along the passage to see. "Oh," she called to her parents, "come see, it's lovely." But Pod and Homily did not move. The boy was leaning over them, breathing hard, and they could see the middle buttons of his nightshirt. He seemed to be examining the farther room. "What do you keep in that mustard pot?" he asked. "Coal," said Arrietty's voice, "and I helped to borrow this new carpet. Here's the watch I told you about, and the pictures." "I could get you some better stamps than those," the boy said. "I've got some Jubilee ones with the Taj Mahal." "Look," cried Arrietty's voice again, and Pod took Homily's hand. "These are my books." Homily clutched Pod as the great hand came down more in the direction of Arrietty. "Quiet," he whispered. "Sit still." The boy, it seemed, was touching the books. "What are they called?" he asked, and Arrietty reeled off the names. "Pod," whispered Homily, "I'm going to scream." "No," whispered Pod, "you mustn't, not again." "I feel it coming," said Homily. Pod looked worried. "Hold your breath," he said, "and count to 10. The boy was saying to Arrietty, "Why couldn't you read me those?" "Well, I could," said Arrietty, "but I'd rather read something new." "But you never come," complained the boy. "I know," said Arrietty, "but I will." "Pod," whispered Homily, "did you hear that? Did you hear what she said?" "Yes, yes," whispered Pod. "Keep quiet." "Do you want to see the storerooms?" Arrietty suggested next, and Homily clapped her hand to her mouth as though to stifle a cry. Pod looked up at the boy. "Hey," he called, trying to attract his attention. The boy looked down. "Put the roof back now," Pod begged him, trying to sound matter-of-fact and reasonable. "We're getting cold." "All right," agreed the boy, but he seemed to hesitate. He reached across them for a piece of board which formed their roof. "Shall I nail you down?" he asked, and they saw him pick up the hammer. It swayed above them, very dangerous looking. "Of course, nail us down," said Pod irritably. "I mean," said the boy, "I've got some more things upstairs." Pod looked uncertain, and Homily nudged him. "Ask him," she whispered. "What kind of things?" "What kind of things?" asked Pod. "Things from an old doll's house there is on the top shelf of the cupboard by the fireplace in the schoolroom." "I've never seen no doll's house," said Pod. "Well, it's in the cupboard," said the boy. "Right up by the ceiling. You can't see it. You've got to climb on the lower shelves to get it." "What sort of things are there in that doll's house?" asked Arrietty from the sitting room. "Oh, everything," the boy told her. "Carpets and rugs and beds with mattresses, and there's a bird in a cage, not a real one, of course, and cooking pans and tables and 5 gilt chairs, Gilt, maybe that means like gilded, and a pot with a palm in it, dish of plaster tarts, and an imitation leg of mutton. Homily leaned across to Pod. "Tell him to nail us down lightly," she whispered. Pod stared at her, and she nodded vigorously, clasping her hands. Pod turned to the boy. "All right," he said. "You nail us down, but lightly, if you see man I ween. Just tap, oh, 2 here and there." And that is the end of chapter 15. It looks like the Borrower family is about to get some new furniture. And as much as this is very frightening, it seems that Homily quite enjoys it, these finer things. We still have the mystery of where Aunt Loopy went, and it seems that Homily might have had some sort of a prophetic dream, because they kept talking about how she would tell them later on, or she only realized. And my brain is trying to remember, but I feel like maybe something bad has happened to the Badger set. Like there's a tree that had fallen, or something like that, and they need to go on an adventure to check on them, or maybe the boy will go check on Uncle Henry. Who knows? I hope you're having a great time. My label maker that you got me some time ago says the batteries aren't good enough. But I tested all of them and they say they're 1.5 volts. So I'm going to have to look into that. And I remember there's a charging port at the back. So maybe there's like an internal battery and then there's the extra ones that you add. But I will do some research on that maybe later today. Yeah, I hope you're having a great day. And yeah, I think that's all. Bye, Bryn. I love you very much.